how are you today?
Good, thank you.
We're so happy to be able to talk to you today.
I know, I'm happy to virtually be there.
Do you hear us fine?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let me introduce your audience today. Here are the teams of Pocket Jeunesse Publishing House and more than 20 bloggers that read and loved Reason to Breathe and Belly Breathing. In fact, they just learned we plan to publish Out of Breath in May and What If in October. And they have many questions that I will be asking on their behalf, if it's fine with you.
Yes.
We can also type the questions if you have trouble hearing us or understanding, if it's more practical for you.
No, you can ask away.
Okay. So, first of all, we can't wait to hear more about What If, your new novel. Could you tell us more about it?
What If is, it's about friendship more than it is a romance. There is a romantic element to it, but it's about these four friends who grew up together and the choices that they made to bring them to the present moment in their lives. It's a little bit of a mystery because you're understanding their past and understanding their present at the same time, because one of their friends has kind of disappeared from the group, and so you understand what her story, what happens to her as the main character, the narrator, Cal. It's written from a male point of view, this one. He's in college, he's 19. And so you're understanding what happened to her as he does in present tense and learning in the past. So it all kind of concludes at one moment. So it's a beautiful story. It's really, it's about friendship. It's about being who you are and being true to yourself, no matter what decisions you make in life. So you can't live in the past of your what ifs, but just embrace them to know that they brought you here today to this moment.
That's a very perfect answer. Because we wanted to ask you about how do you write such vivid characters and make them so real for us?
They have to be real to me first. So I think that's probably what takes the longest, is the hardest part of my creating, is that they have to become three-dimensional to me in my head so that I know everything there is to know about them before I even start writing. I personify them. I give them a true background, even if there's things that you never know about them. For example, I know Carol, unfortunately. Like, I know who she is and where she came from. You don't know that. You don't even know what she looks like. I do, but I chose to give you some information. I chose not to, but in truth, every character has to have a story, has to have a history, it has to be real. And so when I write them, they're telling me their story. It's almost like I get to listen to them and I get to watch and observe as they play out, as they create before me. So I feel like I'm a spectator in all of this as well.
And how do you feel when you write such violent scenes as the one in Reason to Breathe with Carol? Was it particularly demanding?
Of course, I've so a lot of tears have been dripped on these keyboards. So I feel it. I have to go there. I have to be a part of it in that sense so I can describe it for you. I can describe it. It's all about feeling. When I write, I need you to feel. And it may make you uncomfortable at times, but you need to experience it as that character is experiencing it, or else it's going to be lost on you. The message is going to be lost on you. I think one of the hardest scenes I had to write, and you haven't read it yet, is in the next book, is in Out of Breath. And you'll know when we get there, but it was the hardest scene. Just know it's coming up. For me to write, I had to go somewhere really dark to get there. So, yes, good luck with that.
And now that the writing is over for you, do you miss your characters, Emma, Evan, Sarah?
I do. It took me a long time to say goodbye to them, to even get to move on to writing What If, because they still lingered and they still were there. So I did. I really had to let them go. But they're not necessarily gone because I'm writing again, with Jonathan's story, and they're there. They have to come back.
We wanted to know more about it. The Virgin series, right?
Yeah. So Jonathan is the most controversial character I've created to date.
Yes.
Some people love him, some people hate him. Very little people are in between. I don't know if I know anyone. It's either love or hate. And but he's very complicated, and he's very dark. Whether he necessarily is all his meaning to what his intentions are, but he's a really messed up character. So he's worthy of his own story. He has his own trilogy. And so in that, part of that, of learning who he is and his story of why he is, you have to see all the elements of it, from his childhood, his family, to his relationships with his friends and his love interests. And that obviously brings you up to Emma and Rachel as well, so they all play a part in who he is and who he becomes. And
will Emma, Evan, and Sarah appear in these books?
Yes. They appear, the first two books are really building up to who he becomes. The third book presents you 10 years later. So you get to see everyone 10 years later.
So people are fainting in the audience.
There are some crying in the audience.
Et on reverra tout le monde 10 ans plus tard.
Yes. So, what character did you enjoy writing about the most, and which one is your favorite, if you have to choose?
I loved writing about Niall. She's in What If. She's kooky and funny and unexpected, and there was no rules with her, so she got to do whatever she wanted and say whatever she wanted, and she was just fresh air. And that's really what I needed to write after coming out of the reading series. I needed fresh air. I needed to come and cleanse my soul a little bit before going back into a very dark place, which is Jonathan's trilogy. So yeah, she was fun. She was so fun. My favorite character is Sarah. I love Sarah. She's just real. I allowed her when I created her. Really, she's the voice of reason. I mean, being inside Emma's head is exhausting. That girl does not make a right decision ever.
No.
So we needed someone to keep her grounded, to keep her real. And it's almost like I created Sarah's voice to almost reflect the audience's voice. What the person that's saying, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" And so I got to be more candid with Sarah, and so she was just fun. And she's a girl, and she likes to clothes and she's pretty things, but she's loyal, and she's a really good friend. Despite of all her privileges, she's just a really good friend.
I think everybody agrees in the room. And you were talking about how heavy was the writing about child abuse, and we wanted to know if was it important to you to write about such a difficult subject?
Yes. I used to work in human services when I first graduated college. I was too young, I think, to really be a part of that field. I came out of college wanting to save the world, and I was barely out of my teens myself, and so here I was trying to help these teenagers correct their path, and I didn't even know what path I was on, so I think I just did it at the wrong time. So in the interim, I was a wedding planner. So I planned weddings, and I was there on the happiest day of people's lives. But there was always something inside of me that knew how important this was. And so when I took that chance and took that opportunity to write, I knew the message that I wanted to create. And I want all of my stories to have a message of hope, of belief, of trust, of love. I write with purpose. So it's not just an entertainment value, which of course it is, but it's more than that. And so being able to touch people's lives with my words and being able to see that change that I've always aspired to make with each email I receive and worldwide. And yeah, it affects everybody worldwide, this story, this message, and it touches me. It wasn't my intention to do it, to be this. I just wrote from my heart. And I wrote a story that needed to be told. And whether one person read it or a million people read it, it didn't matter to me. It was just a story I needed.
And how did you maintain that equilibrium between emotional and romance? It is never melodramatic, the series. It is always on the edge and very yes, we know when you say you wrote from the heart, we feel it. And how did you stay on this line?
Well, there has to be an ebb and flow. I can't overflow. I can't inundate you with a ton of emotion, but not give you time to process it and heal. So otherwise, you'll just shut the book. It would be too intense and too much. So I had to give you those sweet moments, those funny moments, those moments with Evan, which you watch her fall in love, and you fall in love too. Those moments with Sarah, where you're laughing alongside them and feeling like you're the other best friend in the room. So with all that angst and all that the terror that she has to go through at home, I had to give you a balance. I had to give you an escape. In a sense, in the same way I had to give that to Emma, to keep her grounded, to keep her focused on what those things are that are important to her. Because if it's all despair, no one's going to want to read that. So yeah, it was doing that, but it also had a way to give you a pacing that at the end of each chapter, I'm kind of letting you I'm almost like a mini cliffhanger a lot of times with those end of the chapters, so you're like, oh, I just want to read one more chapter, I want to read one more chapter. And that was all on purpose. And even the foreshadowing, there's so much intricacy with the weaving of the stories between even Reason to Breathe and Barely Breathing to Out of Breath. There's a lot of foreshadowing. It was a really crazy web to create, but everything's on purpose. And sometimes it will take a second read to really put all those pieces together. Just, oh my gosh, she told me the ending 2 books ago. And yeah, I had fun with that. I grew up on reading crime novels, real crime novels too, and at one point I wanted to be a criminal psychologist. I really liked that side. I grew up on horror fiction, on Stephen King and Peter Straub. I was never a romance reader. That was never me. Even now, I prefer fantasy and sci-fi to romance. So I think that's what you kind of feel in there. You see the thriller novel aspect that I love in my life, but bring me into a contemporary fiction piece. So I think real life, and then giving you that adrenaline or that rush that you need to keep reading has that little bit of that, where my influences were from the authors I grew up with.
That must be the reason of your success, and that's our final question for you. Did you expect it? How can you explain the phenomenal success of your novels?
It still feels surreal, even though you're sitting there right in front of me. It still doesn't quite feel that this is happening, and I love it. And I'm so grateful and appreciative of every single person who has allowed me into their life with my words, and that's just, I say thank you for that. So I want to continue to write stories that move people, that inspire. So as long as I do that, I don't foresee ever letting it go. So I thank you for that. So all my success is due to my readers. So I'm very, very grateful.
Thank you very much for your kindness and for being here with us today. And we hope to see you very soon in Paris.
I hope so.
So thank you.
Thank you.